Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Game 2 between EGAxslav and QXE, FXOqxc up here as the Blue Terran, and we're going to be playing on Xel'Naga Caverns today for Game 2. This game was from MLG Columbus, and if you didn't see MLG Columbus, you really need to go check out the VODs, because it was an absolutely rip-roaring extravaganza of ultimate amazingness. So, Xel'Naga going to be spawning down here as a red Protoss, once again on Xel'Naga Caverns, and I've got to say, after that first game, Xel'Naga was looking pretty torn up. I really was interested in the choices of QXE going into during that first game, going very Marauder heavy, and I mean pure Marauder with like a garnishing of ghosts, and you know, it's got to be, it's a very risky business to choose that route from QXE. I mean, at the same time, you know, I mean, Xel'Naga could have gone down the Immortal route, but ultimately Marauders actually like defeat Immortals cost for cost, so that isn't a very good choice. But you know, and then you're left with the kind of going down the air route, the Stargate route, and whilst, you know, a lot of Vikings were out for QXE by the end of the game, you know, if Xel'Naga had spotted that he was going purely Marauder for a very long time, you know, he could have potentially been able to punish that with some interesting Void Ray play. But you know, getting that kind of scouting intel when you've already got is more likely to come when you've already got a Robo facility out, because you will have your observer in your opponent's base noticing that it has so many Marauders out. So, you know, you could get the Colossus from there on, but it was a really tight spot for Xel'Naga, I must admit. He didn't really do himself any favors. He was in a very tough position, and you know, he paid for it. So Xel'Naga is going to be trying to scout up here, but ultimately he is walled off, so he won't see the vital information that he wants to see, which is primarily how many gas the Terran has at this point, and if there is a second barracks going down after that first one. A Marine is going to be coming out here trying to shoo away that probe, but ultimately, you know, QXE is going to be toddling along the map in order to be able to see what is going on in the base of EGAxslav, and that is actually a very early-ish. It's an early-ish second gas, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do see something interesting out of Xel'Naga at this point. Maybe some kind of Stargate tech. Stargate busts are very popular against a Terran that does wall in like this, as they can be very powerful if the Terran does not have enough Marines. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've already done a video on that somewhere in my archive, but I really kind of want to focus on a game that was played in the Slayers Clash of the Houses tournament, where Frozen actually used that tactic. So at some point I will bring that to you, as soon as I can get permission to be able to cast the replays, because they were CSN property in essence. I don't want to, you know, upset them or anything like that, because they did want to publish a lot of the replays on their channel specifically, but ultimately I do want to bring that because it's a very good use of Void Rays and Stalkers against a Terran. So it does look like QXE here is going to be going for that one barracks into command center, which is also popular now with Terrans. Going to be grabbing that 2 barracks as well, which is once again very standard after that command center, but going for a 4th barracks, which is a slight deviation from the norm, not too big. Going to be throwing down a bunker on this low ground here in order to be able to create a defensive position. Oh, but this Xel out in a bad spot here. He's going to be able to be picked off very quickly, and now Xel'Naga is just going to be using it purely for scouting, and he does notice that bunker, so he is going to be, you know, wary of the fact that there is going to be a command center coming up anytime soon, and you know, in response he's going to be throwing down his own Nexus. He realizes that he's not going to be under much pressure anytime soon. He's just going to be throwing that down very quickly here, and I'm really quite surprised that we haven't seen much out of this second early gas from Xel'Naga at this point. He does only have a gateway and a pylon going down, and did that Zealot manage to get away? Oh, you baller. That is awesome. I can't believe he got away. That is fantastic. But yeah, I mean, going back to the second gas, I'm really surprised we didn't see much more use out of that. There is just a few gateways going down and going very sentry heavy at this point. You normally get that, you know, around 20, 21, 22, but Xel'Naga going for that around 17, so interesting choices, but, you know, I really kind of don't, unless he's going for some kind of sentry zealot push, which can be very typical in Protoss versus Terran right now. You know, it's not going to be of much use. So QXC is going to be able to establish this defensive position here pretty nicely. He's going to be grabbing a lot of tech labs here on these barracks, so it looks like he's going to be going for a very similar mix to the mix he used last game. And where is this Zealot going? It's the ballsy Zealot from previous, and he gets taken out without getting much at all. He did get a little bit of scouting intel, notifying him that this base was pretty much up and running now, but now a lot of sentries going to be coming out here from EGAxslav, and this is a great build to be using against the Terran in general. This kind of 3 gateway with an expansion behind it, in order to be able to just apply a little bit of pressure. These units are infinitely more powerful than Marines at this point in time, but with this Marauder garnishing, in essence, I already used the word garnishing, but it doesn't really matter. You know, he's going to be in a good position, QXC, in order to be able to defend this. A little bit of lost mining time, but ultimately, I mean, if you can secure your, I just need to put myself on busy. If you can secure, you know, your natural in such a quick fashion, you're going to be in a fine position. Although a few more stalkers are going to be coming in here. Not bad force fields at all, cutting off a lot of those units in the back near the minerals, and now going to be trying to kite these as much as possible. But the Marines are just doing so much damage to these stalker units, and wow, actually EGAxslav going to be able to do quite a significant amount of damage, but with these reinforcing Marauders, EGAxslav is going to be pushed back pretty quickly. A few more stalkers going to be coming in here as well, but I really don't see this doing much else, and he's lost a lot of sentries at this point. So despite actually laying down some nice force fields in the mineral line and in this position as well, you know, he wasn't really able to do as much damage as he would have liked, and he does have a little bit of stockpiling minerals going on in his base, throwing down 2 more extra assimilators, and it looks like a robo facility on the way as well as a forge. So I mean, we could see EGAxslav kind of reevaluating his mistakes from the last game, going for the armor quickly against this bioforce of the Terran. And, you know, that armor is just so important against the Terran at this point. In this metagame stage, you really need the armor as quickly as possible against bio, due to the fact that, you know, the damage comes out in such small kind of packets, but really fast. So the more armor you have, the more it mitigates the overall damage exponentially in comparison to a big hard hitter like a siege tank or a Thor. So it looks like QXC is going to be moving down, reinforcing ever so slightly with these units, but it looks like he's going to pull back, as this is quite a scary force. In fact, no, he's not. He's going to be able to try and take out that stalk. He does not. Good force fields going down there, separating a few Marauders, and Marauders really don't actually do that much damage to Zealots. They really need to be able to kite them. So ultimately, I mean, those Marauders, despite being able to shoot the Zealots from the other side of those force fields, weren't able to do a great deal. And EGAxslav now actually going for a Robo Bay, and I always have a bit of a problem when I do see a Robo Bay going down in the natural of a Protoss player. I mean, granted, if you do see that, oh, nice scouting there with that Observer, you're going to be able to see that the Terran is breaking down his gold. But anyway, yeah, coming back to this Robo Bay, I really have a problem with it due to the fact that, you know, if a Terran can get, like, Marauders here or whatever, there's a bit of an engagement in the front of your base, you know, they can sacrifice just a few Marauders in order to be able to snipe out that Robo Bay very quickly. Granted, you know, they could drop in your main and do exactly the same thing, but ultimately, you know, the Robo Bay is very vulnerable in this natural position, and I would much rather it be in the main base somewhere. I think that's a personal niggle more than anything, but ultimately, you know, just something I prefer, so whatever. QXC going to be throwing down his gold now, and great timing on this gold, I've got to say. We do see, it looks like though EGAxslav is going to be trying to keep up, but at the same time going to be trying to push in here, and this is an interesting choice. He's trying to get a good position on these units. The Marauders were ever so slightly divided, and now actually the Zealots are going to be able to take a lot of Marauder damage at this point. You really need a higher Marine count against Marauders as opposed to Marauders. So, I mean, despite, you know, actually being able to hold that off pretty effectively, he lost quite a lot of Marauders to what was not really a scary push, but, you know, due to the composition of the Terran, he really wasn't able to deal with it as effectively as he would have been normally, and now he does have these bunkers going up. He really needs to repair this one, otherwise it is going to burn down pretty quickly. And we do have a few Zealots warping in over to the east of the map, so he's going to be able to use these to... Oh, wow, he's actually loading them up. He's going to be dropping them in the main. That is going to be fantastic, and it looks like EGAxslav now going to be trying to secure this base, whilst both players just push up the lanes here, and Colossus production does begin. So it looks like this Warp Prism may get quite a few kills. It's actually really interesting to see this. And Missile Turret is going to be going down in this natural main even. but at the same time, a bit of a big engagement going off here. Going to be throwing down some nice force fields in order to prevent some of these units from actually attacking. Oh, great use of that, but at the same time picking up the Marauders in order to be able to make them retreat very nicely. That was fantastic play from both players there. Great force fields and great micro there, but at the same time, you know, those Zealots were cleaned up in the main, and oh, the Warp Prism just gets away. That was so close, and now it looks like EGAxslav is going to be pushing up here, and QXC has quite a decent army and also to defend this. Must admit, he is going to be moving up. Great move here by QXC, trying to take out that Colossus, and he does get the Colossus. That is huge at this point, and you know, that Colossus was really the linchpin of this attack. Despite this Gateway Force being pretty strong, you know, these Marauders and reinforcing Marauders will be able to clean this up anytime soon. Oh, in fact, he's having to bring his SCVs as well. Interesting choices by QXC, but at the same time, in the main base, we do have a few Stalkers barreling down on this natural. Really great play here by EGAxslav, attacking on all fronts. Really creative play, really nice use of force fields in general, and now QXC is really on the back foot. It really feels as if roles have been reversed in this second game. In the first game, we saw QXC poking and prodding ever so slightly on two fronts, dual fronts, but now it looks like, you know, EGAxslav really taking advantage of that. And despite Protoss really not being as mobile and flexible as you normally see from, you know, Terran and especially Zerg with his Zergling run-bys, etc., you know, there's still avenues that you can exploit as a Protoss player going into these games. So EGAxslav here doing a fantastic job. So it does look like we're going to see a Twilight Council go down as well as a second Forge. Love this play by EGAxslav. He's going to be able to get a lot of upgrades out very fast here. And oh wow, a Dark Shrine going down as well as Charge, and a huge amount of barracks going to be going down here for QXC. He realizes his money's got a little bit high. He really needs to increase his macro, especially since now he's 40 supply behind. He doesn't realize this, but oh, he's also supply locked. So, you know, he's in a bit of a bad spot, QXC. Very flustered by this dual-pronged attack method by EGAxslav, and I've got to say, EGAxslav is really impressing me during this game. In the first game, he was a bit sloppy, a bit dodgy with his play, but now EGAxslav is really kicking back into this, and we really could see maybe him pull himself back into this game as, you know, QXC just going to be taking precautions, putting missile turrets around the edge of his base, but I feel the Warp Prison time is kind of over, and it's a bit of an overreaction in essence to a problem that's sort of already been solved by kind of, you know, Stim Marines, etc. Just a few Stim Marines in the base will be able to solve any kind of Warp Prison play that does come along. You do have a Storm on the way now for EGAxslav, as well as a load more gateways. So wow, he's in a fantastic position taking this gold. If he can get this gold up and running without QXC actually being able to expand, he's going to be in a fantastic position. So, whilst I did say that, QXC is going to be throwing down another command center, but it's not going to be up for quite a while as this Nexus is going to be fine and dandy. A few more orders going to be stimming in here. I love this play from EGAxslav. QXC even. Stim Marauders just so much DPS, going to be focusing down that Nexus, and he's actually going to get the Nexus kill, which is huge at this point, considering the fact that QXC was ever so slightly like half a base behind it, and oh my god, more Marauders going to be stimming in here, trying to force the cancel, but ultimately the Protoss ball is far too well positioned. Going to be moving in with a few Vikings there, getting a bit sloppy with that, going to be sacrificing a few to those Stalkers, not even killing a single Colossus with those Vikings, so he really needs to kind of up his Viking production. We do have armor as well as weapons on the way for the Protoss. He already has 1-1 up, whilst the Terran really only has nothing going in terms of kind of upgrades, and now this is a very scary force for Protoss, and ultimately he's probably going to be able to steamroll through. He already has charge done here at this point. He's probably going to be able to do a lot of damage here. Nice Storm going to be landing off on all those Vikings. Another nice Storm, and these Zealots are tanking a lot of damage. And despite that, you know, all these Colossus, you know, all the Zealots are dying at this point, but all the Colossus are still remaining. One Colossus does go down from a few nice shots from those Marauders there, but now, I mean, this is just too much of a force here at this point. Really nice use of Storm in order to be able to kind of whittle down the HP of those Vikings, and GG comes out from QXC. So we're going to have to go to a Game 3, ladies and gentlemen. EGAxslav really pulling himself back into this series with a fantastic Warp Prism, double-pronged attack, and we'll have to see what goes on in the next game. Join me in just a second.